Hello traders, Gary Wagner here, just after 11 o'clock in Honolulu, 4 o'clock in New York. It is Tuesday, November 29th, 2016, and this is the Daily Report for Gold and Silver. We do have a mixed bag in the precious metals markets today, with gold trading lower and silver trading higher. Interestingly enough, that is all in the eyes of a lower U.S. dollar. U.S. dollar helping silver a little bit, and silver adding to that in terms of buying. Gold unable to overcome a weaker U.S. dollar. Let's take a look at pricing this morning. In terms of gold, gold is currently off about $4.40, 1186.40. That's basis of the December contract of COMEX futures, which would in essence place that as spot gold when we look out to an outer month, which would be February 2017. Gold futures 1189.80. Net change down about 1/3% or a $4 decline at 1189.80. The high 97.70 and the low 82.60. So we are closing well off of the lows of the day and still closing fractionally lower on the day. But as I said, we do have a mixed bag in which we have silver futures trading higher on the day. Now they're up nominally, fractionally, up 0.07%. So we're not even looking at a full 0.1% rise, but it is up a penny to 2 cents at 16.59. The high today has been 16.70 and the low 16.39. As I said, that all in light of a dollar index, which is currently trading below 101 just fractionally, but is off about 1/3% at 100.99. So traders, I do want to start today's show off by taking a look at the U.S. dollar. We had anticipated lower pricing in the U.S. dollar. We had also anticipated that being a strong push for the precious metals complex as a whole. We were only partially right. We did correctly see that we would have some underlying weakness in the U.S. dollar. However, it's only been silver that has been able to utilize that weakness and compensate for that and still have a higher close under pressure, unlike gold. And so therefore, when we look at this chart, we can absolutely see now that we have broken really below 101, we're trading at 194, off about almost 0.4%, that since we hit this top at 102 last week, this of course is today. Yesterday, we did absolutely have a lower low, but we had a large buying orders coming in to push that up near the close to really, in essence, see the dollar index close unchanged. But we have been slowly drifting lower as we now are under 101. And so traders, the effect on the precious metals markets is quite clear when we look at the Kitco Gold Index. So for example, a weakening US dollar today, currently trading at 1188.40 on gold, but that provided an upside move of about $2.50, but that could certainly not compensate for the selling pressure in the market, about $8, and that's where in the spot market we did or are trading lower by about $5.40 or almost a 0.5% drawdown. Now, when we look at silver, we had that same effect, about 0.2% of an upswing due to a weak U.S. dollar. We had nominal trading, but we didn't get negative trading. We actually got some buying in the market, so our net change was positive. And again, we've got palladium and silver moving higher, with platinum and gold moving lower on the day, even with this dollar weakness. Which brings us to our current analysis in gold, since we are currently long a gold position, roughly $8 from this particular price point. Now, quite obviously, we did not get the follow through that I was hoping for as this market aggressively tracked higher on Sunday overseas as it began to trade in Australia through Hong Kong, then into London, and of course then into New York. But we certainly didn't get any kind of follow through on that buying, even with a weakening US dollar. That is disappointing. At the same time, we have to acknowledge the fact that we could in fact still easily be forming a base, and unless we break below the price point of about 1170, 1169, and of course you can see that as a 61% retracement, I still believe our model that we are currently looking at, which is under the assumption that we had a large A wave coming in from the end of last year, beginning of this year, that culminated really in July of this year, in which we saw the market go to its record top. Of course, that's the parameters in which we are utilizing a fib retracement, is from the low of the year and the high of the year. But then we saw it form a double top. Then we had a lower high, yet another lower high, and then a partial sell-off supported 1250, only to have a lower high again, and then this last sell-off occurring just following the election of Donald Trump. And you can clearly see that as this is the beginning of November, and so that the election takes place, as I said, 8 days following that. So as long as we are above this particular price point, I am still hopeful about our current trade, but I am disappointed in the lack of follow-through today. So traders, obviously, even with that in mind, my recommendation is to maintain our current long gold position, maintain our current stop. So traders, what about silver? Silver, as we said at the beginning of the show, has been able to not only utilize a weakening US dollar, but add to that with a small amount of buying, so that we do have an update fractionally higher on the day, trading up about a cent to 2 cents. But the key, as far as I'm concerned, as we talked about over the last couple of days, is when we consider the 61% retracement that comes in roughly at 1660, and the fact that we are absolutely forming somewhat of a base here gives me some hope that we will see silver along with gold really form a solid base, find support, and then, of course, trade to higher pricing. This, of course, is a daily chart, and you can see that we've had these nominal changes over the last 3 days, and you can really see that reflected when we convert this to a weekly chart. Let me go ahead and do that and enlarge it, and you can see that although we've only had a couple of trading days this week, we're still looking at a doji, very, very small trading range between where the market opened on Monday and where it closed today. This has been Gary Wagner, wishing you as always good trading. We'll talk to you tomorrow for another daily update and review. Bye-bye.